We are live. Wednesday night with those guys, and Wednesday night with those guys are sponsored by
Those guys.
Yes.
We got to
Welcome,
get.
everyone. Welcome to Wednesday night with those guys. This is where we talk about everything in the drone world and promote the usage of. And I hope the weather has been kind to you where you are and you've been able to get out and fly your drones. If the weather has been nice where you are, please let us know and let us know what the weather is like where you are and if you've been able to get out and fly your drone. How you doing, Lawrence? What's going on with you? How's your
I'm
Wednesday?
good, man. I'm good. Just typing back to Gary. He goes right on the stroke of 5 p.m. As in, like it's all about timing. I'm doing good. What's going on? It's raining here. It's raining. It rained today. It's going to rain the next 2 days, but the temperature is going to go up to damn near 60 though.
But
But
it's raining.
it's going to be raining. So if you got a waterproof drone, you can fly.
But didn't
I
I
guess.
but didn't I tell you we were gonna have a wet winter?
Yes, yes, you did. Yes, you did. You still haven't told me your secret, but I salute you. He was right. He said we're gonna have a lot of rain this winter. That's all we've been having, but I prefer the rain than snow.
You know what you do? Here's
Yeah,
how you do it. You check out the last few days, right? In the year before.
yeah.
And then that first harvest of vegetables in the season,
Mm-hmm.
you look at the vegetables, and then you go stand up on the roof, right?
I'm trying to see where you're going with this.
Trying to tell you my
The
method.
Brooklyn Jimmy says screw the snow. I'm with that too. I wouldn't care if the coldest it got was like 55 degrees, 50 degrees.
That's it.
Even 40. I can tolerate 40 because you've seen it. I wear 40 degrees. The other day I wore a hoodie out. It
But
was
where,
I wore a hoodie today.
but our weather is in the winter time, an average of 40 degrees.
Yeah, yeah. That's why we can fly all year round.
We average about 19 inches of snow for the winter here in New York City.
He goes, in Florida, it's 80, feels like 84. That's okay. You got dodge those hurricanes down there.
All right. So you've been able to get out and fly, maybe unless it rained when you had the time to get out and fly.
Right, right. This is a little strange here. I'm actually sitting at a table here, so the keyboard's higher than it used to be. It's gonna take some getting used to.
So let me ask you this:
Yeah.
you're sitting in a chair.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Keyboard's not too high, is it?
You it's about solar area. What to, but
Oh,
that's fine. Because if I want, I can actually even stretch it and put it in my lap, which I will probably do at some time. Oh, perfect. Done. Problem solved. You give a dog a steak on a plate, and what does he do? Take it off the plate and put it on the ground, right? Sometimes that's what happens. What's going on with you?
I
And
can see it now. The keyboard on the floor, and it switches to another screen.
yeah, right. Stop. Don't stop. Please. I just reconfigured everything back. I had to unplug everything. What's up, East Coast, Gary, Brooklyn, Jimmy,
Oh, so I'm
SGN,
even
Joby?
lucky you're here
Yeah.
because you
That's a I have skills. I have some computer
because you
skills.
unplug things.
All right, here we go. Here we go. And shit don't work again, right?
Oh no. Yo, but Lawrence, you know what's going on? We got a few things to talk about tonight, and one of the things that I wanted to mention was the before you fly app is getting another facelift.
Yes.
You remember when they hooked up with what was that? Other people from Aloft and whatever, and they got
Hmm. Well,
new.
actually, if you remember, Aloft brought out before you fly. because we did
Well, it's
so.
actually well,
Yeah.
they took over it in the development, but I think it's still a government app, and
Mhm.
they got what is it like four well, is it something like that? Developers to four new partners to work on and development on some stuff with that to the smartphone, the tablet, and the desktop tool.
So
And,
it will work on
right.
every device.
And they promised that they were going to have a lot of new resource too.
Hey,
So
Chris.
that's supposed to be coming next month for that on the Before You Fly app.
Well, it's actually good because now it's funny, they still call it Before You Fly, but we know here in New York that they've changed it to a loft. But
Oh,
now
it is
they've
Before You
even
Fly.
changed it. They changed it from a loft, right? They changed it from a loft to air control now.
Right. And
Hey, Jim.
that's what the both apps were pretty much doing the same thing. And what they did now is they, like I said, they brought in they signed in four new
They
partners.
hired some new software developers to
Right.
enhance it.
Right. To enhance what they already have. And it's supposed to be good because it's they're tools for the smartphone and your tablets and as well as your desktop version. So you'll be
Yes.
able to get airspace clearance and stuff like that and find out where you know you're restricted
Well, see, that would help because now that you can do it
even
from your
before you go
PC,
to right.
you might want to request that clearance or see if you can request that clearance before you even go,
Hmm.
or find out if there's a TFR in the area or things like that. I mean, it's about time the apps have started catching up with the PC. And now if you look at your PC, they call everything an app. So the technology's catching up. What's up, Johnny Drone Flyer? How are you, sir? Hope all is well. Jim's droning, cooking dinner, but listening. Jim, thank you for listening and stopping through. Chris, RC, Aviation, East Coast Thrills, Gary,
Hmm.
SJM, Brooklyn Jimmy, Jody is here, and whomever else may be lurking in the shadows.
Oh, who else? I see Johnny Drone flying down there. You got him?
Yes, yes, yes. That's
Oh,
why I started, and I was like, I might as well just go up the list. And
oh,
Jim's droning. I'm sorry. I think I said him, but just in case I did, nothing personal.
all right. Okay. Because I don't want you to miss nobody.
Oh no, I'm good.
Now, what's this deal about this? I mean, I got to look into it more. But the firmware update for the Mini 4 and
Yes, there's a firmware update
the
just released, just
3.
found out. If I had my news ticker, hold on, maybe I can turn the TV up and you can hear it because my stream deck sucks right about now. But hold on.
Don't blame the Stream Deck. But
I it's me. It's me because I can't figure out how I had it configured work when it was working. But
yeah,
I
but
will fix.
well, it supposedly it has a new firmware update, and I guess they're saying you can save fly spots.
Yes, yes, which is a great improvement to the app. You can save fly spots. There's a section it never worked on other radios, but now I guess they finally have it working.
But you know what is nice that you can increase the font size with this because it's a fly app upgrade.
That needs to trickle down to the RC Pro. I'm sorry. And the other radios. John Olson, how are you? Good evening. That
Hey,
needs to trickle down.
Olsen.
They changed that font size. It's just a software thing. And I'm hoping it trickles down to the OcuSync 3 users.
Well, it's a fly app upgrade,
Right, but only for them for now. So being that they're the latest drones, you
but
update your new
I
stuff first.
think that I think if the upgrade is in the fly app, you understand what I'm saying? To be
It
able
should carry over to ours, you're saying.
to be, it should. I mean, it's a fly app update. It's not the firmware for the drone itself.
Okay. Well, All right. I was going to say something really quick, but I was supposed to say it at the beginning of the live stream.
Ooh,
When
what?
you were saying, this is where we do our little, this is where we, talk a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I was going to say to make sure you have your pens out so you can take notes,
Oh,
and that's it.
oh, okay.
But getting back to the Fly app, the font thing won me over automatically right there.
Well, you know what I thought was interesting too?
What's
The
that?
the fly spots, because now with
Internationally, it works.
well, yeah, but if you record your areas where you fly from on these
Mm-hmm.
fly spots, other people can go and check out those fly spots when they go to that area.
Right, but see, that's what I was saying before. It wasn't working too well with prior versions of DJI Fly app. And I always thought it would be a great asset. Like, I like flying along the beach in Rockaway. And
Mm-hmm.
people have asked me, yo, where did you take off from and stuff like that. And just by using that app, you have an idea, a general idea of where to fly.
Oh, okay.
And you can update it on the fly as well, straight from your remote. So that's the cool thing that I like.
Yeah, all right. I have to check it out. I don't know.
There was an update for my RC Pro, but a firmware update, but I have not checked anything. And this
Maybe
update I saw last week, I just chose to ignore it the last two times I was flying because
I'm a
the
favor.
weather was really cold and I don't update out on the street. I'm
Please do me
sorry.
a favor.
Yeah.
Make sure you do all the updates on I'm gonna say it how my mother would say it, on my controller and my drone, because I gotta send a check out for the insurance company and I want
Oh,
to
I
make
got you. Yeah. All right. I got you. I'm definitely going to update it. I'll probably do it after the live stream because I don't know if I'm going flying. Well, we're doing something Saturday, so I want to make sure everything's updated. I don't get any warnings, but it has been since last week. There was an update, a firmware
it
update.
has been since.
But if this one affects us, that would be great. We'll find out. Has anyone upgraded their radios lately?
You
Their
know,
RC Pros lately? Or
who's been
done a
quiet lines lately?
oh,
Highberry.
huh?
Highberry.
Highbury.
Yeah, they've been real quietly.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I bet. It can't do a hyperlapse on 30-mile-per-hour days. We know. I mean, you could, but it'll look like you have shaken brain syndrome.
You go right into the hospital.
I enjoy looking at their stuff. I really do. Hold on. See, now you're gonna make me wait a minute. It's 12, it's 5:12. We got 3 minutes.
Oh,
Just give you a heads up. I'm going to LinkedIn right now and I'm looking at
but
Highbury because I have not even searched for them for a minute.
there's a lot of live streams on YouTube, and
Yes.
a lot of them in the drone space. And there was it's funny because when we first started doing this, right? And I couldn't believe it that when I checked it out that ooh, we go back a long time.
Yeah, because you're talking about your stream and I was started mine slightly before yours,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a few months before you.
Yeah, because I was what was it? Well, it was April 10th, 2019.
Yeah, that's
And
crazy, right?
it's funny,
2019, it's now 24.
and
A good little bit of time they've been doing some live streams. Kudos to you. I would play the applause button, but you can't fucking hear it.
um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of live streams on it. We've seen a lot of live streams. Some come, some gone. Some of them very good live streams. A lot of them are very good live streams that are on in the drone space, and some of them are like kind of like our how you call it, crossovers. Like
Yeah,
they talk about a lot of different things, not only just drones. But I remember when a lot of the live streams were talking about stuff like whatever comes to mind,
right.
you know, and not much drone talk.
Right. Well, now there's so much stuff out there. Everyone, I guess, can talk a little this, a little that.
Hmm.
But
Well,
yeah, I agree. We have been doing this for a while, a good
well,
little while.
when we first started doing it, we wanted to do
Hey,
a
Copper
live
State.
stream about um, what was going on because we came from watching the government going, the FAA going from the IPP program into the Beyond program, and we wanted to talk about more than just the drones that were out there flying for us to fly, but
Time
for
check.
but for drones, and the stuff that was going on in the drone space. Period. But
Right.
the live stream is supposed to be airing this weekend, Sunday, matter of fact, right? It's supposed to be airing this Sunday, right? The 28th at 6 p.m.
Yes.
Pacific Standard Time. Draymond is supposed to be having his live stream, and we have him coming on this.
Yes. 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 Dreaming is why I love you guys. We appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
We
And
definitely appreciate you. Let's
making
go
its
to
way, making his way to the stream right now is Draymond Crawford. Can you hear
yeah.
me, Draymond?
I can hear you.
All
There
right.
we go.
All right. How are you doing there, Draymond?
I'm doing great, gentlemen. How are you?
I'm
Good, good, man.
good.
Happy New Year to you and all of that happy belated holiday stuff.
Mhm.
Yes.
So you got a live stream that you're starting this weekend, Sunday.
Yes, I am. It's been something that's been on my mind for at least the last 6 months, seriously, and
Mhm.
probably a little longer when I used to do shows with Adrian. But I want to look
Okay.
at what niche I can fit in, and I finally found something I think it's going to be beneficial to the community, which is basically taking a deep dive on some of the issues as far as rules, regulations, legislations that is occurring across the country. I will be focusing on primarily things here in the U.S. Where we all live at, and
Mhm.
but it will pertain to a lot of different places around the world because we know a lot of other uh, regulatory authorities over airspace in different countries follow what we do here
Right.
in
Right. Well, it's interesting because that's one of the things I wanted to ask you. Like, what were you gonna, especially like your first day, like, what, like, where you going with it? Because 'cause when I first saw, it, I was like, I when I got into it, we were just on streams, we're going to other streams, and guys just like a hangout, and guys were just hanging
Hmm.
out, talking, and we're
Hey,
all
Koopy.
we're all linked together because of the drones community and the drone because of drones. And I was like, why don't we talk about drones? So when Lawrence and I started doing the live show, it was like I was mentioning before you came on, we saw like with the IPP program with the FAA. And that's when we got in, back in like 16 in flying drones. And
Right.
by 19 we were doing live streams
Right.
and it was like, what do we do? Like we wanted to talk about the change and like so what's going on, not only about the drones that we fly, but about the drones period and what some of the things that drones we've been talking here for over about 2 years about drones and the things that they're doing to save lives all over the world and stuff like that. But I'm glad that you have a stream that's going to be talking about the regulatory stuff because a lot of guys, whether you believe it or not, they think they know, they don't know.
And that's what's key, Herman and Lawrence, is that I'm not going to talk about a lot of subjects. I know other people, other channels try to have a question and answering period, and you only give a quick one sentence, couple words answer. I say we're going to take deep dives. I'm going to bring up documents from the FAA to show people these are the ABCs, the one, two, threes that you need to be aware of while you're out there, what you need to be in compliance and everything else. So a lot of folks do like everything else. They read the headlines, which basically means they come into live streams like here, And this is their gospel. This is their Bible and stuff. And they glean what they glean from it, and then they go out and do what they do and stuff. So I want to be able to provide something they say, okay, this guy showed me something straight from the FAA, straight from legislation, straight from here. And that way, you know, and I'll have link like you guys do, provide links for people to go see it, because I don't want anybody to think this is just my
Right,
word.
so they can fact check.
Yes, that is it. I don't want people thinking this is my word. This is what this coming. This is where I'm getting information from, and from my background as far as you know, legal, being a law enforcement, my education, criminal justice degree, and so forth. I can kind of decipher some of that legalese language a little bit. You know, I even talked with your other guest that's coming on, Ryan.
Ryan.
I tell people, I said, we need to have a universal message. We all need to speak the same message when we talk about these rules and regulations, to be consistent. So everybody doesn't say, well, so-and-so said this and so-and-so said that.
That's true. I agree with you on that.
I've said that a few times here, and I was like, the thing is, if I don't know, and I'm telling Lawrence about it, then guess how many other people are not going to know? Because he's going to go tell somebody else what I told him, and you know it's going to get watered down anyway. So you know that's how rumors and stuff that not so much rumors, but how things get spread about, right, misinformation, and it's not good. It's best that, you know, we have a platform like what you're talking, where somebody was actually show you the concrete. This is this, that's that, and this is what's going on, because we have on live streams all the time, where people are getting into issues where, in many chats where people have gotten, we ran across this one that said, oh, you can't do this and you can't operate here. Or,
yeah, you see a lot of misinformation being spewed out there.
Right.
And not so much even with like police officers, but like the basic community.
Right.
You know,
and I always tell people, they always talk about, you know, educate the officers. You have an encounter. I said, well, it's kind of hard for you to educate the officer if you don't know what you're actually saying.
Right.
True.
You know?
True.
And then you run across an officer that may know something that you don't know, and then, you know, you up there looking like a clown.
You have a valid point. And there are 107 police officers out there.
Yes.
Lots of them, thousands upon thousands of them out there. And I'm waiting for the day that I do run into a police officer and he's like, you know what? I'm glad you said that, because everything you said was right. You know, it's good to be confirmed or assured that what you're telling someone is truth and factual, and just to have someone else say, yo, what you just said was correct. That's a big thing. And you don't see it often, but you do see it in the community.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's my main focus, is to bring some direct information from the FAA and other sources, which is like right now we got not just a few, but we have almost every state here in the United States that have additional drone laws besides the FAA rules and regulations of how we fly in airspace. Just about every state I have researched over the last several months have additional takeoff and landing rules that you may have to go through certain steps, like your city requiring permits, all that kind of stuff. These are things that people are still unaware. You go in these different chats and people are asking, hey, I'm going to New York, but what do I need to know? I said, where you been hiding at?
Well, you know what's funny, Draymond? It's funny because Herman and I get told by people, we're coming to New York. Where can we go fly? We'd like to come hang out with you guys. And we just say, let us know when you get here and we'll point you in the right direction. Sometimes our schedules may not match up, but we'll point you in the right direction. And then a lot of times I hear people, oh, we're here in New York City and we're leaving, you know, we had to, whatever, but it's
very congested here. We can't fly here. Oh, I bet you can.
yeah.
But you know, the New York permit law, right? Draymond, that is unreasonable.
Yeah, it is extreme, but don't feel like you guys are isolated anymore. Like I said, I've been doing research on different states. And there are some, even my state of California has a lot of restrictions in certain areas. And because being out here in California, especially Southern California, where we have a lot of the film industry. So
Right.
there are a lot of places where you have to get permits from the state and from the local government for filming purposes, regardless if you're just doing it for yourself or if you are doing a commercial work. Like I said, it's a film industry state. So they
Well,
look at these drones because the capability of these drones of being professional camera gear.
And you know,
exactly.
it's funny that you mentioned that because a lot of people that I speak to here still look at it as, you know, it's like what you're doing is not real, and and why is he charging me the prices that he's charging me? Well, there's permits and all kind of insurance involved in doing what you want done.
And something I wanted to point out and give kudos to you, Draymond. I had saw in a Facebook group where a gentleman was trying to figure out what he could do in a certain area. He flies on FPV, and you helped him out a lot when it came to getting a COA for that particular area where he wanted to fly. And we need more people like that in the drone community. Honestly, to help people and ask. I've had a guy ask me, you know, Herman and I, we do our little thing on the side. And I had a guy ask me, he's like, how can I get in a business? And I just went like this. You really want to know? but it persistence pays off, Draymond. And you're living proof of it.
Yeah.
Depending on how deep you want to go.
Yeah, how deep or down the rabbit hole you want to go, because it can get
that is it. You got to have a commitment to doing this, a commitment to want to be, if you want to actually make a few little dollars on the side, like we're doing, you got to look at the industry and see what's coming down the pipe. You got to be kind of like a step ahead. So when the jobs come around and so forth, you can step up to the place and, hey, I have this, I have the experience in that, I have the COAs, I have all this already in place. I'm ready to go when you guys are ready to go. And you guys have been out there a little bit, you know, when business says they're ready to move, they ready to move.
You got to be ready to go. Yeah. And what's on Friday may not happen until Tuesday.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, I got a guy I went to, he's several years younger than me and in my hometown. And he calls me, he does power line replacements and stuff. And he just called me about a week ago, telling me, oh, I need you up here in Northern California, yada, yada, this and that. And I mean, he's a talker. He's a great talker, dude. He'll get you hyped up, ready to go, jump in the car, jump on the plane. I said, dude, I need some paperwork in my hand. I need assurances. I need guarantees. I need to know how much we have negotiated, how much we have settled on before I step foot out my house to go do anything. I tell folks, it's like any other job. I got a mortgage to pay. I got family to look after and stuff. I just can't go run out the door and think, oh, run down the street, my hair on fire. You know?
Right. Let me hurry up and get.
You're right, because what a lot of guys don't understand is that the time I'm spending with you, I'm not over there doing something that I'm making some money on.
100% on that, Herman. 100%. And I tell folks, I said, I fly part-time for myself, Part 107 work. I fly average between 7 to 9 days a month, primarily weekends. So that tells you every weekend a month, I'm out flying.
Right.
And somewhere. So that's where I'm at now, because I'm committed. Like you see me here at my regular 9 to 5. So, as we say the old days, suited and booted.
Listen, you don't take off that tie until you're ready to take your shoes off.
That's it.
And you know what I mean by that? I come home from hanging out with Herman or doing something, and I have my backpack on me, and the guy says, "You're flying your drone today?" I said, "I fly any day I can, any day possible, but I don't fly for no reason. I don't. If I'm up in the air, you better hope it's for you. You know it's for a reason."
You said it's a bird. You don't fly for no reason.
Those days, Draymond, of going, like, I go to meetups. I meet up with people. I fly locally, but I mean, as far as Oh shit, it's a full moon tonight. I gotta get no. Gotta get up at 4.
And people don't get that. I was asking, when do you fly for fun? I said, I never flew for
Word.
fun. Like I started watching you guys back in 2019. When
Mhm.
I first started into this, I got my
We
part
see we were
107 in
flying more for
2019.
fun then.
Yeah,
We were
I
flying more
flew.
for
I got my
fun.
part 107 in 2019. I had a plan in my head. This is where I want to go with this. This is why I'm doing this from day one. I didn't go from hobbyist to 107 commercial operator. It was all a plan. Part of what I do. At the time I was an inspector. Now I'm a city safety officer for the entire city.
Right
So
now they
all
call
the
you.
plan.
Now they call you and you go through your Rolodex and I'll get back to you
Yeah,
with a smile.
so
Right.
and I
Congratulate
tell
you on
people,
your stream.
when I do get the opportunity to go out and do some freehand flying, that is when I do practice. Like right now, we're back to doing the bridge rebuild that I did a video of about a year and a half, 2 years ago of the demolition of it. Now we're doing the rebuild. Those are the times, as we say, I practice. It ain't flying for fun. I practice. I
Right.
practice my movement. I practice my stick position. I practice this and that. So later on, if I do have a job where I got to do a really tight, slow orbit or something like that,
You
it
can
comes
do
like
it.
saying it becomes second nature to you.
Right.
Right now, Draymond, that's what this little bird is right here. This Pavo
Yeah,
Pico.
yeah,
It's specifically for indoor cinematic. It's not aggressive. It's not loud. You'll look at
right.
it and say, "Oh, it looks so cute," but it's doing the job.
Mm-hmm.
And every chance I get, I try to fly it because I just got it. I gotta tweak it and get it just right. You may want to do that semi-orbit around something in a helical move, raising
Mm-hmm.
up or something to that effect. These
Oh,
are
yeah.
things.
Ready for the dentist's office.
Yes, I remember the dentist office.
Oh,
That's
are you
another
are
thing.
you ready for the dentist's office yet?
No,
Okay.
no. I gotta see this. I need to see my space. I need to see what I'm working with.
I'm gonna
I
let you
could
see.
be.
I'll let you see the office when we get there.
All right.
When you get
Yeah.
there.
I need to see the place. Take some pictures. I need to know if I'm going through a standard 3.5 to 4 foot doorway, or am I going through a closet doorway?
Going down two steps into a doorway, and the room
It's
is about
downstairs into a basement. Okay.
three feet, about 4 feet to the next door or the window of the office.
Oh, so it's a closet.
No, that's the vestibule area.
Oh, okay.
Now see,
As long as I can
that
get in the
short
door, I'm good.
conversation you guys had. When you talk, that's what I tell people, you need to be able to talk the language that people understand in the industry. When you
Hmm.
said standard 3 foot, whatever,
Yeah.
that's something contractors know that you know what you're talking about when you talk
Well,
about things like that. And
you
that's why
know what? It's
I tell people all the time, I sell my qualifications more than I do a drone. I just use the drone to get the job done. My qualification to be on your job site is what got me here and stuff.
Right.
And I
yeah,
said, when you
yeah.
speak that language, just like if I go on to Herman and we talk about looking at a standard electrical box or upgraded 220 everything, we talking about all these different amps and everything else on this in this panel. Then he gonna speak that language. Saying, well, oh, okay, you need to run this gauge, you need to run this here, you need to have a
Right,
breaker
right,
here,
right.
all this kind of stuff. He knows that language. That he's gonna be able to tell me and lets me know I'm dealing with somebody who has knowledge and
Yeah,
stuff.
well, but I found out a lot of people don't there are a lot of people out there working in this drone community, and you know this, Trayman. And there are a
Mhm.
lot of people out there that are trying to get their foot in the door. There are a lot of people out there that just don't know what they're doing. But questions like how wide is the door? How high
Mhm.
does the window go up? All of that stuff makes a difference, man, in
Yes,
a little flight from going perfectly straight to ruining a whole video because
yes.
you dropped 2 inches because there was a draft coming through the window because it
Mhm.
doesn't open wide enough.
Yeah,
Someone open a front door. Anything can mess up your job. But
yeah.
kudos to you and your new job, man, on the
Yes, sir.
28th. And
Well,
what's the
yeah, like I
time going
said,
to be?
it's gonna be a
Do a
podcast
plug
format.
right now.
Yeah, it's gonna be a podcast format. They're just talking that one subject. I'm gonna keep it short, nothing over 30 minutes. And that way I'm in and out and I'm providing all the information I've dug up and researched and everything else. And like I say, as you guys were talking about earlier, about some different subjects like law enforcement encounters, we'll be covering that. Also, probably later on, starting February, I'll start adding each state at the end of what I'm going to talk about and cover their drone laws for each state in the country, because I've run into
Okay.
some doozies, man.
I
The way
can't
they
wait to see it.
the language
You've
they
run
have in
into
there.
some conclusions. We got to get on Zoom one day and
Yeah, because I tell you,
talk.
the language they got in there, it can trip you up and they'll have you in a noose before you know it and stuff, because it's not very specific or clear. So basically, law enforcement officer can come there and snatch you and your drone for with basically little or nothing.
In some states, from what I've seen, like the one with Ken Herron and the guy that Ryan was on, that was crazy. The fact the cop was abusive to this dude. When
Well,
Yeah,
whether
well,
he was or
I'm
wasn't,
gonna I'm gonna say that Lawrence, watch my show Sunday night, and then
right.
you might not have that opinion anymore.
Mm-hmm.
well, I have to say this though. No, I say the cop was abusive because he could have given his name and his badge number, but the guy should not have been flying in infrastructure. And that was mistake number one right there. I don't care how accomplished you are. If he wasn't there getting paid to fly those lines, he shouldn't have been flying near them.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we'll leave it
I'll
at
tell
that.
I used to tell people all the time when I was a cop, don't quote the law if you don't know the law. And I'll tell you
True.
this: with drones, it's gonna be more about your attitude than the altitude that you're flying.
Yeah. Yep. Every time, Draymond, police officers that I've met, I know for a fact, just because of the way I approach them,
Mm-hmm.
is how they approach me. I know
Right.
that straight out the box. If you come out
Yeah.
the box an asshole, you're going to get treated like an asshole. We know this. We
Mm-hmm.
know this in the business world. Hey,
Yep.
Flying Flynn. But listen, we would like to
Thank you
congratulate you on starting your live stream and thank you for coming in,
for
man.
hanging out with us
Hey, I
for.
appreciate the
Yes.
invitation. I said support you guys as much as I can. Usually this time of the day, things are winding down, so I'm able to, sit back and listen to you guys and type in a little bit here and there. But
And from
like I
the
say,
office,
I use you guys as my mentors. See, like I said,
we
I've been watching you
appreciate
guys
that.
since
Thank you.
2019.
Thank you.
We
Appreciate it.
appreciate that. We do
Thank you.
appreciate that, and we appreciate you and what you do with the drone community. And I look forward to seeing this stream.
Yes, I can't
Okay.
wait. I will be there watching.
All right.
Definitely. Thank
I
you, Drew.
appreciate it.
All right, man. Enjoy your evening.
Oh, we just getting started out here. Yeah.
Hold on. That's not what's FL.
All right, Draymond. We'll see you on Sunday, right?
Yes, it'll be this
6.
Sunday, 9 p.m. East Coast time, 6 p.m. Pacific Coast.
All right.
And whatever you live, Central and Mountain, 7 or 8, whatever it is there.
All right.
I'm sure everyone will make adjustments. Go by and support Draymond on his opening night.
And believe me, I start on time.
All right.
Oh, well, you see, all the years we've been on, if we don't come on at 5, something wrong.
Yeah. That's why I get it. I've heard that from people saying that, when you advertise your start time, start on that time. Don't be warming up people at that time. You start on that time.
Yeah.
All right, Draymond. We'll talk to you.
We appreciate you, Draymond, for coming on.
Thank
I
you
appreciate
very
you
much.
guys.
Thank
All
you.
right, man. Okay, now, as far as what's happening in the world today, Jim's droning. You guys click that like button if you haven't already. Let me see okay, there we go. I can see that now. Thanks, Dre, for coming on. We appreciate you and all that you do for the drone community. What's up, Herman?
No, we're all right. Nothing much. I just want to get on with what we're doing. What we have coming up next? Archer. Archer seems to be back in the news. once again, Archer is teaming up with NASA and for the advancement or the future advancement of urban air mobility, or should I say, uh, air mobility, advanced air mobility. Because when you talk about advanced air mobility, you're talking about all over, not just in the urban area.
Correct.
Right. So they're supposed to be working with NASA, and this is going back to what you were talking about before, because like I said, the this is a new deal with Archer, and I know you love Archer because they got that big deal to fly in New York with
From Jersey to Manhattan,
yeah,
Southern Manhattan. That's right.
yeah. I know you love that one, but
I may actually buy a camera now just for that purpose, just to get pictures of these eVTOLs flying into Manhattan.
well, this supposedly is under the what is it? NASA's Space Act agreement.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a good partnership because it's supposedly for the next generation in air transportation.
Right, but isn't NASA going to take their lipo technology and try to improve upon it?
Well, this is exactly what this is about because they're supposedly working together for the high performance battery cells and recharging.
Right,
And this is the mission that they have to work together with NASA on this. You know, NASA is very dedicated to this advanced air mobility. And they're working not only with them, but with everybody else and making sure that this happens.
right. Well, it's a
So,
good idea. Hell, if you want anyone in your pocket, NASA's the one to be. You know, seriously, it's imperative. Between Archer and Joby, I think that's where advanced air mobility is going to take off here in the United States. Between those two companies alone, they're going to be the predator. How would you say?
well, Archer is actually the leading innovator
Right,
in electrical vertical takeoff and landing
right.
because I think they're way ahead of everyone else right now.
They are. Everyone else is catching up to them, but also everyone's watching what they do so they can get it right when it's
Mhm.
time. And that makes
Is that
sense.
what you think? You know, and you know what? You're right because, like I said before, you know, everything that happens with them is the base, and going forward, it'll be the blueprint for whatever
Hmm.
happens. You know,
Yes, I agree. You guys click the like button if you haven't already. I haven't
right?
refreshed
Yeah,
my
because
page.
you had mentioned, I said, yeah, because the partnership is basically started to you know, to work on the performance of the high performance
Of
of
the already existing
cells.
batteries.
Right. And the charging and the safety testing of these batteries.
Right, because Archer already
Mhm.
has has standardized the, the the cell technology. So
Mhm.
now that NASA wants to get involved with them and help make that technology even better,
Mhm.
I see them making a lot of money. It provided they last.
Yeah, I mean it's all a go. I mean, because look, they're looking at and design new battery technology as well.
Hmm.
So I mean, listen, when you have the money, you can do anything,
This is true. Must be nice.
isn't it?
Yeah, must be nice.
Oh,
Have a couple of million to play around with and invest.
you think?
We missed a
Because
drop in a shot, but we can catch the next one at 6.
well, you know what? Let's get it anyway. We can catch the other one at 6.
Oh, damn.
Wednesday night with those guys is sponsored by those
Those
guys
guys. Yeah.
because Archer and Joby, right?
Mm-hmm.
are back, and both of them have teamed up with Atlantic Aviation.
Yes.
Yeah, so Archer and Atlantic, Archer has begun laying out their groundwork for their what do you call it?
eVTOL, the Midnight.
No, the new locate throughout the different locations that they're looking to
Oh,
launch. They launched their groundwork for looking for different locations throughout the
right,
country.
right.
They're
Well,
talking
right.
about they're talking about Los Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
New York City,
Yep.
Northern California, and Southern Florida. But they're gonna be probably going
Right,
to Southern Florida first, and I'll tell you why. Because this talks about with them in Atlantic Aviation, right?
right.
That they announced this deal that is supposed to be taking them to Florida, where they're going to be having them. We talked about with the whole charging
Mm,
and those charging stations and hubs and vertical
yes.
and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that. Right in Florida, where they have the whole facility. That's where they're planning to go to first. Is Florida. And
Okay.
yeah, if you checked out the thing with that between them and Atlantic,
Yeah.
no, I don't
I'm
know.
I'm looking at the video here. This is them. Well, this is just a video of the actual Midnight. They're
Right,
doing a
because
test. A test.
basically what it is they're going to be able to help them on the support of future electric aircraft operations, and it's supposed to trickle down to the Midnight aircraft. Like we said before, the aircraft Midnight is supposed to be working to. That supposedly has a deal already to fly from
Yes, with
New
those
York,
cities that you mentioned earlier.
right, from New York
To Jersey, to Newark Airport.
to Newark Airport.
Right,
In those cities that I mentioned to you earlier, those are all of the cities that they also have that same type of a contract with.
right.
Now for Florida, they have a deal now for this charging. Uh, this is where
It's a charging hub. It's a
right,
giant charging hub for eVTOLs.
mm-hmm. And that's what they have with the deal that they have with them. So basically, they're going to leverage their existing relationship with Beta Technologies to make all
Right.
of this happen, which I think is a great thing.
Well, Beta Technologies, I did a little reading on them. They work, they're working on a rapid recharge system for all eVTOLs, but interoperable, which means multiple eVTOLs should be able to land there and charge, just not one type.
Exactly.
So keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's why I said that with working with Beta, you already have three different aviation companies,
platforms.
right, working on this. So you have Atlantic, you have
Mhm.
uh, Beta, and Archer. So
Yes.
and,
And
and
Archer is supplying all of the eVTOL.
right,
Um, Beta is supplying the rapid recharge station. So technically, from let me see if I could pull this picture up
that could
in
actually be
another
a win
window.
for a company like UPS as well, because the UPS is going to be using
I
Beta's
can't I can't zoom in on this picture, unfortunately, but this is a prototype of one of the charging hubs
other
where
charge pump. Yeah.
eVTOLs will be able to park inside for maintenance and on top be able to land and charge of different types. But of course, here they show, like I said, I apologize, I can't zoom in, but on top they show all of the Archer vehicles there.
Mhm.
And this was taken from a website photo. They're cheesy. They don't give up nothing. You know how it go.
Well, they recently, basically they recently showed that place off, and
Yeah. Yeah, they just had you're right. Didn't they just have some kind of show to show
Mhm.
it to show what the building would look like? Somewhere in Europe, if I remember. I could be wrong.
Actually, I saw it on a few different programs, but when it was first shown, it was a video that had I don't know what you would call that. Somebody, I guess, did I guess computer with graphics,
Mhm.
did a whole design of the building.
The East Coast, I don't tend to think, maybe, let me answer East Coast real quick. He puts rides for rich people. In the beginning, yes. But in the beginning, if you remember back in the day, rich people only rode in the yellow cabs and on the horse and buggies. Everyone else walked or found a way to get there. So eventually it'll trickle down. Definitely. It would have to be cost effective because not everybody rich is going to want to fly in an eVTOL. Well, maybe they would.
Why not? I
Maybe they would.
I don't see why not. And then for the use that it's going to be used for, he's somewhat right about that. Um,
Right.
because how many of us need to get from
Manhattan
the
to
East
Newark
Coast,
Airport.
no, the East River heliport to uh, the airport in Jersey?
True, true, true. And yeah, but hopefully it will trickle down. We shall see. We don't know until it actually
Are they
starts
going to
happening.
use it for rides to Governor's Island?
Could you imagine a heliport on Governor's Island? You swoop in past the Statue of Liberty and land on the island. That'd be sweet.
Somebody would say no.
They'd say no because you see so many damn drones
No, they would
trying
say
to chase
no.
the damn thing.
They would say no because I think it would
Governor's Island is
it would
isn't it a
disturb.
landmark?
Um, no.
There's buildings on there that are landmarks.
Yes, that's on one side of the island.
Oh, okay.
On the other side of the island, where everything is done, the first thing that they're going to say is that putting that there would disrupt more than half or a third of the activity space on the island.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It'd be a spectacle because you'd be able to see and hear the thing coming from any direction too. Because the highest point, you remember, we
Right.
flew at a time where you could fly drones from Governor's Island.
Can't have that.
And now you no longer can do that. We
Can't,
participated
can't have that.
back
But
from the sky. Don't you have to take a ferry to boat to Governor's Island? Yes, you do. What's up, Angel, Drone Guy 42? You still do present day. There are two boats, one leaving from Manhattan and one from Brooklyn, right, Herman? There's ferries.
yes.
And back when we could fly drones on Governor's Island, I'll be real quick when we get back on the subject.
Uh-huh.
You could carry it in your bag
You
and
can
say you had
still
a
do
drone inside, and they had to make sure that it was a drone.
when
And once they saw it was a drone, you close your bag back up. Next ferry's leaving so and so, right?
it never asked me nothing.
You know, his word in Manhattan, they did on the Manhattan side coming across. Wow.
Never asked
Just
me nothing.
see, guys, they just let anybody on the boat these days.
Never asked me.
Yes, I take the rain over
You
snow
can't.
too.
You can't fly. You can't fly over there anymore.
Yeah, it's been years since you could
I,
fly from Governor's Island.
I made a mistake and I called them and I asked them if you can fly
Mm-hmm.
over this island, and they told me yes. And I told you guys, and you brought the herd, and they
Brought the
stopped.
herd, if I recall, a certain group, New York City group,
That
had a
was like
meetup on an
somebody
island and
advertising.
burnt the spot out.
That's like advertising all you can eat 10-cent chicken wings.
Right, right. That's true. You
You get a
got
couple of
$1. That's
fatties
10
over
wings
there.
right there.
You get a couple of fatties over there and make them regret that.
can't do anything in New
Couple
York
of big
anymore. That's
boys.
not true. That's not true. We still fly here back from the
What
sky.
happened?
He says you can't do anything here in New York.
Okay.
Excuse me. We can still fly here in New York. It's just, Angie, how are you? Hope all is
Hey,
well.
Angie.
It's just that honestly, back from the sky, you have to do it the proper way, or you have to do it the right way. So if anyone runs up on you, they'll walk away
Hit you with the judo chop.
and it hit you with a judo chop. There's in certain places you have to have permits.
Well,
That's plain and simple.
we're talking about permits inside and stuff, Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about it, but Joby
Yeah.
signed with that. Well, I mentioned before, an Atlantic. So Atlantic,
Right. Atlantic is signed with Archer and Joby.
right. Now, once again, here we go for electric charging, right? This is
Yep.
what they're doing with Joby. So, I mean, it's a thing now. The electric charging and stuff like that is the next phase with these things, because you're talking about over 30 through almost over what, 30,000 miles of all electric vehicle flights,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So we'll see.
And here's Joby in New York, right here.
Right. That was the demonstration they did a few weeks back.
A few months back. It's a couple of months
A
now.
few months now. Yeah, about a few months
Yeah.
back. Yeah. They did
Yeah,
the
it's been at least 2 months. But this is what they will be flying. Well, Joby showed that eVTOLs. There's the Brooklyn Bridge in the background. Of course, they had to fly past there. They took a flight around the harbor, around the southern tip of Manhattan, and it was a first, all-time first. But this heliport is the actual heliport that Archer will be landing on when they bringing in eVTOLs flying from Newark Airport. Whereas we did do a story on it. You could get from Newark Airport to that particular part of Manhattan in about 50 minutes to an hour. And in an eVTOL, you'll be able to do it in 8 to 10 minutes, depending on wind.
And if I'm not mistaken, Joby will be at that vertiport as well.
Yes, Joby will be used at this vertiport. So I
Basically,
didn't want to say anything about the slumlord mayor that was in our slumlord mayor, but here's the video in the chat.
You call him a slumlord.
He's a slumlord mayor.
Okay.
That's how I feel about him.
Call him whatever you want.
He got his hand out like a landlord all over New York. He got his hand out.
All I know is that for 10% off on all Nano products, Lawrence,
Yeah.
feel free to use the coupon code. Oh, that's Lawrence right there in the picture.
Yeah, that's me. I just have to clear out.
Use the coupon code Phantom Flight 10 for all your Nano purchases for 10% off. That's Phantom Flight 10.
Yep.
10% off on your Nano purchases. Yeah.
And with that,
Yeah.
and with that, we are.
Where'd you go? You still there?
I'm still here.
Oh,
I'm still here. I just had to
come
do
back.
like that and
You hide.
I don't have a green screen behind me.
Oh, that's
They will cost money to ride in the beginning, and that's cool. I'm fine with that. Let the people who have to keep up with the Joneses and want to be first go first.
You know what? I say the same thing about the helicopters, and I feel you with this one, East Coast. But I want to see where this is going. I think because there's a reason why they didn't go at this the same way as they did with the electric car. There are electric planes; they just don't fly as far as our,
True. The battery technology
Yes.
sucks.
Right. What they do fly.
Right.
They didn't market this as an electric helicopter. These things are jets. They're going to fly at a decent speed.
Yeah, you're talking 150, 200 miles per hour when in fixed wing mode.
So I there's a reason why there's a lot of things. I like to see where it's going to go once it rolls out. You know, is it going to be marketed in a way that the price can come down? And I think the only way to do that is through regulatory standards, where you will allow this thing to operate autonomously. I think that's the only way.
Right. So you'll be able to take out the driver and put a
Right,
pilot in it.
right, and let it
I
fly
agree.
autonomously. But we have some things coming up about certain Senate bills and stuff like that, and we got Ryan tonight coming to talk to us about a few things, and we're going to be discussing the Senate bill 2698 with Ryan Latourette and a few other things we're going to talk about tonight. And I hope you guys enjoy it. But Ryan's coming in a few minutes here, and Ryan should be with us right about now. Are you there, Ryan?
I am trying. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
We're going to try to start this video.
All right.
Oh,
Oh,
There you
hey,
go.
what do you know about that?
There you go.
Right. We can actually see you now.
Woohoo!
How
He's got his
doing?
Spartans green on.
Yeah, I got my old t-shirt on. Yeah.
What's
How
up,
you
Ryan?
doing
How are
there?
you, man? Happy New Year and all of
Happy
that.
New Year. It's
Happy New Year.
been a year already, hasn't it?
Yeah. Well, you were here about a few.
I
Well,
was there last year.
yeah, but it was last year, but it wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't that long ago.
Wasn't that long ago.
This
Wasn't
is
that long
true.
ago. But we're here tonight, and what are we talking about? We're talking about Senate Bill 2698, right?
Hey,
What's
yeah.
going on with that?
So kind of interesting. One, we have crossed into the new year. You can see I still got my Christmas decorations up. Those are coming down tonight.
Oh, you know,
Uh,
I took mine.
I see you've got all your Christmas presents in the background.
Oh no,
Uh,
those are old.
yeah.
They're props. They're props.
But yeah, so we crossed into a new year, which means we have a new legislative session, right? So some states have new legislators, some are just extending their current legislative staff. And so now all the new bills have to get introduced because everything that left over at the end of last year is dead, right? It went to committee and died. So now you get pick up again. So we have a bunch of new bills that have hit the streets and have to be assigned even to committees. SB 2698 is one of those. SB 2698 is in Illinois. And what's key about this? Illinois is one of the states that have preemption. So to explain preemption again, we're talking about land use jurisdiction. So some states, 17 states, Illinois was one of them, it has a law in place that says no local government can create or enforce their own drone ordinances. So that means the local government can't disallow takeoff, can't allow disallow landing, can't put any restrictions on flying from the land within their boundaries. So that was already in place with Illinois, and has been in place since 2016, right? So when Part 107 first got introduced. So what's happened now is a particular senator has decided, hey, we need to amend this thing to allow our parks and conservation districts, forest preserves, the ability to create their own ordinances. That's a problem, right? Why have they come about doing that? Well, sorry, that's me. What happened is that I took a look at all the different locations in Illinois that were having ordinances, and most of those places were county forest preserves. We actually had one person ticketed in a forest preserve and took it to court. He won. And so we went to all the different forest preserves out in Illinois and we said, look, you've got an ordinance in place. It's an illegal ordinance. It violates state law. You need to remove that. A couple of the places said, yep, you're right. We got to do that. And a few more of the places said, well, yeah, you're right, but it's on the books. We aren't going to enforce it, so we'll let it sit, which is wrong. But okay, they're letting it, they're not going to do anything about it. And then we had a few more, and this is one of those that said, hey, we're going to get in touch with our state senator, and we want to allow our restriction to be legal. So go ahead and find a way to pass the law to make it legal again. And so SB 2698 goes and says, hey, let's allow forest preserves and conservation districts to be able to be exempt from the state preemption clause.
Right.
There's our trouble, right? So what do we do about it?
Well,
yeah.
So
What
right now
can be
I'm
done?
looking at this as a call to action, right? So I know that, you know, you may be in New York, in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, wherever you might be, this impacts you because you may take a flight over to Chicago, down to,
Mhm.
you know, Joliet, wherever it might be, and you might want to have a little vacation, or you may be on business, especially if you're on business, right? Your big client calls and they're in, you know, Peoria, Illinois, and well,
right.
now you can't fly in a particular district because of this law. So this is very important for you to, you know, write a letter, pick any state senator that you want, take all state senators and send them a form letter, but really expound upon how you use a drone, how drones are useful, especially in forest preserves, parks, why we use them to both recreate as well as do commercial activity, and make those exclamation points that there's no good reason for removal of the exemption or removal of this and providing an exemption to create their own ordinances. All you're doing is confusing the general public, confusing the drone operators, and you're endangering the airspace. The FAA has once again called and said, we do not want a patchwork quilt of regulation. So this is that institution of making a patchwork quilt. And the more that you can expound on that with those state senators, the better.
Good question.
I'm glad you
Sean
mentioned
says,
that.
go ahead,
patch-
Herman.
I'm glad you mentioned the patchwork quilt because we just had Draymond on here and he had mentioned how many places in the country have different laws in different states all over the country. And it's like, how do we get a grasp of that? How do we get a hold on that and get like one set of rules? Because most times when you are, or I shouldn't say most times, every time you take off in a plane, you have the same set of rules no matter what country you're coming from or going to. You know, that's
Yep.
Someone has a question.
so when
Go
we
ahead,
talk
finish.
about drone pilots, especially that are working commercially, how do we deal with something like that? Because your Part 107 makes it possible for to work in all 50 states. You know, it doesn't give you the knowledge of having the intricacies of all 50 states. Just it has a blanket knowledge.
Exactly. And you know, we look at that as aircraft, but you can expand that down to say, can you imagine if Detroit came up with its very own set of rules for driving a car on their city streets? Or
it could
Peoria
happen.
decided that, hey, you can't ride a bicycle on our streets or our sidewalks, right? You have to have universal rules or you are going to create a nightmare.
Well, let me give you a brief synopsis of something that happened over in Hawaii. There's a gentleman you know that comes to the stream, Sky Control, and he rides an e-board in Waikiki. And for some strange reason, in that part of Hawaii, Waikiki, has it specifically mentioned in their rules that you can't ride an e-board or an e this or e that, but you can ride an e-bike there. But that's
Right.
neither here nor there. There's a question someone asked. Do they actually look for people flying, or do they have to get reported?
Well, that's kind of curious information, right? So in terms of the FAA, right? So if you were to violate an FAA regulation, all you need to do is be reported. That's simple. In terms of a state law or a local government, right? A local ordinance, which this would be, a report that, oh, I saw so and so flying the other day. That's not going to be sufficient for them to go ahead and use that against you in a court of law.
Here's a
So
good idea. Here's an idea. Someone from Australia, Rob from Australia, says create a fly zone app where each state law is baked into the software. GPS will tell it where it is and what rules apply at that location.
That would make sense, but they have
In the
something.
real world.
No, that would make sense, but they do have something similar that is supposed to be implemented that will help them with all of the things that we're talking about. Like they call it remote ID. They'll be able to go back and say, well, you said, well, I saw, whatever, or this was here or that was there. They can always go and check and find out.
see, now go the other way around and say, why bother going to that level, right? When you can just say, hey, everybody gets the same rules across the entire playing board, right? That's the key. Then you don't have to say, oh, I need to look at my app and see if I can fly here. I need to search the internet to see if I can fly here.
See,
I
in
need to see what
Australia,
the
he's
ordinance
saying
is.
ours is a nationwide rule.
Right.
In Australia. Yeah.
Yep. And so that's our challenge, is that we do have a national regulations, right? But right now, and I think this has always been the case, we have this push-pull. Do we have federal authority or do states have their own authority? And now you've got this third entity of local government. Hey, can we have authority? And so what we're trying to do with state preemption is say, look, have the state create a preemption clause that disallows local governments, right? Shuts them down. So now it's at the state level, but the state is actually saying, hey, follow the federal rules. So you're really saying, I accept what the federal rules are. We have one level playing field.
Right.
And at some point in
Yeah.
time, if there's a little tweak that needs to be done within the state for a particular purpose or reason, then that's going to be an opportunity. But to say, hey, you can't fly in a forest preserve, a forest preserve in the state of Illinois, it's just a park. That's it.
Right.
So I can throw a frisbee in the forest preserve, but I can't fly a drone. Wait.
Nope.
Right. Or I can fly over it in one of those one prop thingies and take pictures, but I can't fly. I can't fly a 1.5 pound drone.
Right.
You're talking about the one prop thingy, as you called it, but we talk about all those little electric cars. You're going to start seeing those things because those are probably the easiest things to get off the ground in the drone world. If it is even a drone, because you're in it, you're flying it, it's manned. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they have ultralight status. So
True.
your risk is your reward.
Right until your head gets sliced off, right?
Yeah,
please, man, please. Oh, goodness.
Knock yourself out. There's no rules for you, buddy. Go ahead. Knock yourself out.
Rob from Australia says, sorry, but you Americans needlessly complicate shit.
That's
Duh.
true.
Duh.
Absolutely
You
true.
know what it is? You know
There
what
wouldn't be any other. Hold on, Draymond, real quick. I don't see any issue with airspace, but the way local cities or counties are coming up with takeoff and landing rules is the problem. Yes, it is. Because now they say you can't take off from here, but you can land there. Or vice versa.
Because it's a backdoor way of selling airspace.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, sort
The
of. And
bullies.
they give all the excuses. Well, it's for safety. We don't want drones to be flying
I,
over our streets and public and whatever.
and I
And
get it.
the way that I approach that is, hey guys, you do understand that beyond visual line of sight is coming. Like it's right next door at this point. And so I'm going to be able to stand 2 miles outside of your city and fly over the top of you. And you aren't going to have any type of control whatsoever. Wouldn't you
Yeah.
rather me stand in your city where I can see the
Right.
drone and have greater sense of security so I know who I'm over, what's around me, etc. And oh yeah,
Right.
by the way, I'm probably going to spend money if I'm standing there in your
Ryan,
city. I might
this is
grab
already
McDonald's, I might, whatever.
Ryan,
Well,
this is already happening
you
here in the
know,
States.
I personally think that like when you talking about the takeoff and land thing, like and I mentioned before, New York. New York is just unreasonable that it's a 30-day application process. How do you do business like that? You can't do
Yep.
business like that. I get a call or email or whatever on Monday. We're going Wednesday. I get an email on Wednesday say, "Yo, Friday we're going with." I I can't put in an application 30 days to say, well, he may call me on that day and he might call.
Hmm.
I may have got a
And
report
the weather's going to be fantastic that day.
right on the beginning of the month that says,
Hmm.
and even with the reports that we get in the beginning of the month saying this is what we want to do for the month or where we want to
Right.
be, it's still too late to put those applications in.
Yep.
So
Because they change on the
makes,
fly.
makes no sense because it makes no sense. It's unreasonable. It can't be done. It just can't be done.
And can you imagine them doing that with the helicopter tour companies? You're not going to
They
be able to
won't.
fly, you know.
They
Yeah,
won't.
I
They
know.
won't because what they're trying to do is they're trying to make flying a drone a deterrent. They're
Right.
trying to
Yes.
they don't
Yes.
they don't want the operations at all.
Yep.
And then that's the bottom
And
line.
and the ones that they do want doing it have the inside skinny because and I'm saying this looking into the camera because there's a few companies here in New York City that are trying to monopolize on drone work. And I'll leave it at that.
Well, I mean, you're
And
talking
these
about
companies know who they are. We even know a few people, Herman, that consort with these companies.
well, this is why I believe the move to ban Chinese-made drones was such a big push because when you only have two companies monopolizing the majority of the drone uh, business and of sales in the consumer level, and the other companies that were manufacturing consumer drones no longer exist, you know, as in the consumer space, they're only making government and enterprise drones. So who are they making drones for? Who will drones be made for if the only two companies that make consumer drones are banned?
Well, in the news, just recently, more police officers are buying DJI drones. More police stations are buying DJI drones, despite being told they should not use them. What do you think about that, Ryan?
Well, I will disagree that the push is because we want to prop up manufacturers here in the U.S. Or oust consumer
Yeah,
level drones. I,
that's a
I think
proper word.
I think what you're really looking at is Taiwan. That's what it comes down to, is that there's a brewing war with China. It's over Taiwan,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mhm.
so you're trying to say, hey, look, we aren't gonna have you supported any longer. We feel you have ties to the government, and drones are a weapon of war. Um, we've seen that in.
Well, not necessarily. I'm just answering back from this guy. He says, "Do as I say and not as I do." That's what I think. But the police are saying, not necessarily because you can still fly in New York It's you have to do what it takes. Exemption clause. Thank you, Draymond. Paper tiger law, ADSA. Plain and simple.
Yep.
Exemption clause. You can't fly your drone except in capital letters, quotation,
Mhm.
you pay us.
Yeah, it's more that make it uncomfortable for a person to operate in a specific space and they will leave.
Mm-hmm. We see it all the time, right, Herman, in business.
Oh, it's done all the time.
Yeah, it's done all the time. You see it,
All the
Ryan,
time.
all the time.
Oh yeah,
You raise up
absolutely.
the price or you do something to make the person give up and walk away.
Absolutely.
You know, look how many businesses went out of business because of that.
Yeah,
Oh, the landlord went up. How much in the rent? Oh God, no, I can't take it. I gotta go.
right, right.
Out of business.
How many ma and pa shops have disappeared over the last 2 decades?
Well, I wouldn't even get into why that's the case.
Yeah. We were diverse on the subject, but getting back to what's going on, Ryan, what can be done here in New York?
About preemption?
Yes, about
Yeah.
preemption.
So there's two things, right? So it's the same bill. It's just re-upped. That is going through the New York State House and New York State Senate. So Senator Kennedy is put that through, and we need to support that bill. I'm gonna have to look it up. Herman probably get it faster than I will. But it's the idea that yes, we need preemption in the state of New York. At the same time, we have competing bills. So a couple of new bills that had come up. One is absolutely atrocious. This one was a real estate agent, a Part 107 licensed real estate agent, was flying to get some aerial views of the community, looking at downtown, looking at the neighborhood, etc., and happened to be near a school, not necessarily even over a school, and of course that prompted a police response. So the police come out and they're saying, "Oh, you can't fly here." Yeah, I can. That's perfectly legal. Well, it got to the elected officials, and they thought, "Well, we see that it's perfectly legal, and we don't like that. So we want
Right.
to ban all drones at schools. It can't fly
Well,
over school grounds, can't launch from school grounds." Um, and here it was, a perfectly innocent thing that they've now taken and twisted every which way to say, "Oh, our children are potentially impacted, and this is a privacy concern." I kind of shake my head, but yeah, that's a bill that absolutely
Oh,
has to
oh,
be
you saw
defeated.
me look
how is
away,
it a
huh?
privacy concern? I was just curious to know. Like what privacy?
Yeah, so suddenly when it's children, hey, if they're out on a playground, you can't see them. Yeah, you can, uh, but that's not the whole point. I mean, one of the things that frustrates me is when they're talking to an elected official, they think, "Hey, you can see kids on a playground. Well, let me take this drone up 40 feet for you, and we're going to put it, 20 feet away from me, and you take your time, and you tell me, of the people that you're looking at, which one is female." They
Right,
can't do it, right?
right,
And
right.
you take it up, 100 feet, 200 feet, and you're like, okay, how many people do you see versus how many children? They can't do it. So to me, it's a chance that if you get a chance, work with an elected official, take them over your shoulder, show them those different angles to get rid of that concept of, oh, it's a privacy concern. This is,
Yeah, our
invasion of
children
privacy.
are scared of their own shadow because of that nonsense. You're
Hmm.
right. You're right. It's fear mongering.
Absolutely.
That's the word. It's
Yep.
fear mongering. And since I've been flying drones, I've been seeing so much fear mongering. Herman and I went to fly somewhere one time, Ryan, and the lady, Parks Department, all she does is sweep and make sure there's no garbage on the ground. Oh, you better not fly that drone here. They're gonna come and get you. They chased two guys out of here the other day. And Herman and I looking at each other, and Herman says, "Are they paying her to do this and say this?" You know, she's like, they will confiscate she might as well have worked for a company or something. She did every commercial she could for not flying a drone in that park.
Yep.
And
I
it's
love
all
it.
fear mongering because they tell her, if you see anyone flying a drone while you clean, tell them it's taboo. We will arrest them. That's not good. You will be fired if you get caught someone's flying a drone in your park.
Yep.
Lawrence, I just wanted to check my mic. Is it working?
You're fine. You're
Okay.
5x5.
All good.
5x5.
All right. Good, because it was telling me something over here that it didn't make no sense. All right.
Okay, okay. Don't worry about it. But for some reason, when Herman's live stream starts talking certain political issues, or
No,
he gets
Zoom
kicked
just
off
told
his own, he gets kicked off his own stream.
Zoom just told me something else there about the mic not working.
Yeah, no, you were fine.
But Ryan, what was it? Was it January 4th? I believe it was. You were on Ken Herron's show, and it was a gentleman that he wanted to like he had on the show that the guy got into. Lawrence mentioned earlier when the guy got into an incident with the police about him flying near some power lines.
I have that video.
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
And would you mind, before we lead up to it, can I play that part, but only that part with him and the officer, not
Only that
Ken
part.
Herron
Yep.
and you?
That's great.
If I can play that part, that would be appreciated, because for
Sure.
you to get the guys to understand what's going on here, if you can go into it while I set it up.
You bet. So this individual, he was flying around and planning to enjoy some time. He had inevitably flown near a substation, an electrical substation that was being built. It wasn't even complete.
Right.
And he was flying somewhat near a power line when a police officer came up.
Okay,
And
here you
now
go.
you got the video.
Hello. How are you doing today? Oh, I don't answer questions.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't know he was going to put the piece on the bottom.
Do you know why I'm here?
That would be a question, wouldn't it?
Right?
You can hear it?
Well, this is a legitimate police contact, if you're worried about that.
Congratulations.
All right. So I'm going to ask you to cease and desist from operating a drone within the power lines.
Under what authority?
My authority as a sheriff's deputy.
Wrong. Try again. You have no authority over the airspace.
I do.
No, you don't.
So,
In fact, I'm going to go right back there and I'm going to fly it again here in a minute.
well, you're going to go fly around the power lines?
Yeah.
Right in the substation?
I didn't say that, so I'm going to go do the same thing I did
Within
before.
about 5 feet of the power line.
No, you're
the
wrong.
Substation.
I can fly within 5 feet of the power lines if I want.
Well,
That's perfectly legal.
How about you don't do that?
What law are you enforcing? What law are you enforcing?
So I'll tell you what. You can find out later.
Okay,
So don't do that.
So was that a threat?
I'm telling you what.
Are you threatening me? Under what authority are you telling me where I can fly my drone? Under what authority?
I don't got to answer your questions.
Yeah, actually, you do. You're my public servant. Hey, well, name and badge number. Identify yourself. Identify yourself. Tyrant.
All
Anyway,
right. Now, all right.
but kudos to Ken Herron for showing this. Kudos to you, Ron. Credit to the video, credit to Ken Herron because it was on his live stream. I just want to get that out of the way so you don't get hit with a copyright.
Ryan, we've seen 101 incidents like similar to this, and how should he have handled this?
Well, let me first turn this on you, right? So, Herman, I'm going to have you play the drone operator, and Lawrence, I'm going to have you play the officer, right?
Okay.
So, Herman, you're the drone operator. If that was you, did you play that really well?
No, I kind of jumped on the man before we even got to a common ground on something.
What would have been the better first response when approached by the officer?
Well, what I normally do is the first thing I do is I show him my credentials. I automatically show him my credentials because a lot of times the police themselves are not really sure. They believe that you're doing something wrong, but they're not really sure.
Mhm.
And they know that they have the ability to come and approach you on it without or with as most times with where they feel that you probably don't even know. And a lot of times most people don't. So a lot of times when they read your credentials, they're like, okay, okay, this guy knows more than me. All right, good day, and I'll be on my way. And I
Right.
probably continued to fly the power lines.
Right.
Yep.
But now, if you said putting me in the situation of the officer,
Right.
I would have done like most officers have done and approached us here in New York. I'd like to let you know the reason I'm here is because we got a complaint.
Yep.
Okay. And the complaint is you're flying over the power lines. Now, whether the substation was working or not, that's unknown to me or the officer, obviously.
Right.
Or the guy flying a drone knew, but the officer did not. So now the next step would be I would have to ask you to stop flying around in infrastructure, providing I knew that information.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Okay. And that's where the difference lies because the officer was doing his job. He got a report someone was flying a power station. With all of the shit that's been happening to people shooting power stations and power supplies across the country, they have reason to worry.
Right, and I understood that, and because I know that, for instance, and not to go away from the scenario that we're trying to do, Lawrence and I working at a construction site here in Brooklyn that is right next to a
prison,
juvenile detention center, and a precinct. When we first got the contract, before we did anything, we went and spoke to both of them and let them know that we will be in the air on certain days. And if it's seen or if it's reported, it is probably us, or you can come and see this is the company. We gave them all the company information and credentials that they can contact us whenever. If you see or it's reported, you can always call me and find out if it's me. Is that you? No,
right.
it's us.
Right.
Yes, it's us.
Right.
So in that situation, if there was a call to where there was a complaint made, then maybe he shouldn't have been there.
Yep. No, and I think you got it right? So the nice touch that you had was, hey, I'm gonna show my credentials. So you're establishing, hey,
Every time.
I know who I know the rules. You now know that I know the rules, right? You're establishing that rapport already.
Authority respects authority.
Right. And then at the same token, I think Lawrence, you were identifying as well, an officer coming into that situation doesn't know, right? They may have gotten a complaint, or they may have been driving by and saw this thing over what they consider to be a place where you can't fly, right? So when they're coming in and suddenly they're being put on the defensive, which was what really was happening there.
Exactly.
Their tact completely changes in terms of interaction with that individual. So I think you're right that probably the things that we can do, and you're pointing it out, credentials right away. I could show my credentials. Some of the things that I might do is to say, hey, look, I am a certified Part 107 operator, or I'm flying 49 USC 44809. Just even throwing that out, right? The officer's like, ding, ding, ding. This person knows their stuff. If I don't know it, I'm going to have to either learn, or if I do know something, I can ask some further questions.
And in response to what you're saying, Ryan, I just told someone this yesterday. Okay, I'm teaching someone how to fly, and he's flying as a recreationalist, and he's flying a Mini 3 Pro, 250 grams. He did all of that to avoid having to register. And you know what I told him? You register it anyway. You get the proper apps that you have. You request clearance, and you take a screenshot. All of the things that Herman and I do for daily work or whatever, I say, do it anyway, whether you're a recreationalist or not. If someone approaches you from the law or parks department, you can say, hey, I know what I'm doing. This is here. I said that the worst thing that could happen in situations is they ask you to land and leave.
Mhm.
And he told me, he says, even as a recreationalist, I said, in today's time with remote ID, even though your drone is below standards, someone will approach you at some time and point and say, are you flying here legally? So rather than go through all of the bullshit, register the drone, have a card with the serial number, with the registration number, all of that, even as a recreationalist, and your life will be a lot freaking easier.
Well, and that's one of the concerns, right? So, as an officer, when you're approaching that situation, let's say you're approaching a recreational flyer with a mini, they don't have to register, right?
Right.
They don't have to have a credential other than a trust certificate.
You as a cop
right?
may not know that 250 under 250 gram is legal.
Exactly. And that's probably what an officer is going to ask. Hey, is that registered? Well, no. Well, now they're suddenly going, oh, wait a minute. I've
That's
got
my
somebody
point.
on the hook here, right?
That's my point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now I'm not saying go ahead and register that. I think it's a good idea, but I won't advocate that. But I will say you need to be able to articulate
Ryan, it's
why you don't
$5.
have to.
You pay more for a damn taco. Stop it. It's $5.
Understood.
What's the price of a taco now?
Okay.
That's
crunchy
pretty
taco.
high. But change that up and instead of a mini, right, change it to a Tello.
Okay.
Or change it to a Holy Stone. Right. So now you got either a $50 or $100 in the sky.
114 grams.
Well, I'll tell you this. Those small, anything smaller than the mini, I tell you, try your luck.
But it's that idea that, a kid is, and let's say it's a 10, 12-year-old kid approached by an officer and he asks, hey, is that thing registered? The kid's going to say no, right? Now, hopefully the officer is going to go, hey, wait a minute, this looks really small. I don't think this needs to be registered. But if they don't, right, you have that opportunity to educate. Hey, I am flying 44809. We do not have to register unless it's over 40 other over 0.55 pounds, right? And as you're saying that, then that officer's going, this kid knows what he's talking about. Right. I'm
now,
the one that has to learn.
Now in the chat, Flying Flynn says, I have a binder with my drone registration, trust certification, 107 paperwork. That's fine and dandy. But for those of you who may not want to carry the paperwork, it's still good to have a photo of your drone registration, your trust certificate in your cell phone.
A photo?
Sure.
Yeah, a photo says 1,000 words as opposed to nothing.
All those companies gave you the ability to download it.
They do.
It's true. They do.
When you got the trust, right? When you got the trust, right? You could download. You had to download, right? Okay, so
absolutely. Now let's turn the scenario around a little bit, and I'm going to be the officer, right?
Okay.
And who's playing the hobbyist?
Herman.
Okay.
Herman. All right. So I'm going to approach you and hey, I see you're flying a drone. What's you doing here?
You just said I was flying a drone.
Okay. But you would be telling me, right, if proper protocol, hey, I'm flying 44809, right? So if you're starting that route, so if I'm an officer, my next question to you, right, to make sure that I know that you're flying legally or not, is going to be a simple question. What CBO are you following?
Now, if I'm a hobbyist, you said?
Right.
More than likely, the hobbyist is going to sit there like
a humana.
And as an officer, right, I just said, oh, this person is not flying legally. Because if you are not following a CBO safety guideline, you are not flying in 44809, you're automatically Part 107. I'm going to start collecting information.
Right.
Really?
Because there's no what they call it, a FRIA at the power lines.
Right. But even in FRIA, right? So I'm still going to have to follow safety guidelines of a CBO. So
True.
if I
That's
ask
true.
that question and you can't answer that, yeah, I'm going to ask more questions. Now let's go to the Part 107, right? So I come up
Right.
to you, you said, hey, I'm Part 107. What, as an officer, can I ask to make sure that you are following the rules, that you know the rules?
Well, there's a couple of things you could ask me for if you know what I'm supposed to be doing. You could ask me for
Pre-flight checklists.
a pre-flight checklist. You could ask me for my certificate of insurance. There's a few
True.
things you could ask me for.
Right, because we would
Actually,
be
for my
working.
Part 107.
So I could ask those, but according to the FAA regulations, you as a pilot don't have to provide those to me. There's
Now,
only a
question.
couple of things that you do, right?
Question. Before you go any further,
Yeah.
is it true that unless you show me ID that you're from the FAA, and a police officer asks me to give him my ID, I don't have to give it to him. I can show it to him like that, correct?
No.
Correct. Yeah, you can
You
show.
don't have to show. You don't have to show it to him either. What is the
Really?
reason for him asking for your ID?
Yeah, you don't have to show your ID, but you do have to show your Part 107 credential.
Yes.
So
yeah, but you don't have to hand it to. You don't
you
have
do
to
not have
hand
to
it to
hand
them.
it
You
to
can
them.
go boom in their face like that.
In fact, that's one of the key things that I would tell you, right? Is that if you are going to screenshot your trust exam or your registration or
You
your
could cross out your
your
107 number.
Lance approval, right? If you have that and you're on your phone, you do not give your phone to the officer.
Well, see,
right?
this is what
You
I
show.
do. I always take a screenshot. Herman laughs at me all the time, but I take a screenshot of air control showing we have clearance and authorization, and then I have the text loaded also. So I make sure that window's open in case the app crashes.
Yep.
If the app crashes, I have a photo that we have authorization to be here.
Right.
Okay, and then I can go to the app. So, all right, that's
and that's the thing, you would show, but you do not hand them the phone, right? Because you're providing them the ability to, let's scroll through, let's see what else is in
here. What else is he doing? We've got him.
Now, I think, let's go back to the situation that was at hand, right? This individual was flying near a substation that was still under
whether it was
built,
hot
right?
or not.
Right.
Yeah. What you had is an officer who thought, hey, that's critical infrastructure. And you have a lot of officers who are told drone pilots cannot be flying near critical infrastructure. That's not true. That is not true. There's only a very small number of places that are designated as critical infrastructure. So if you go to the FAA ArcGIS, right, which is the map that the FAA puts out of all the facilities all the way across the U.S., it provides you with the information about where FRIAs are located, where controlled airspace is, right? If you look at the critical infrastructure list, it is incredibly small. Most all of them are DOD, right? So you have like federal prisons that are in there, maximum security federal prisons, I should say, not minimum security. You'll have Army bases, naval bases, Air Force bases. And then probably when you're looking at critical infrastructure, you're only talking like, I want to say 4 or 5 dams. Those are major dams, like the Hoover Dam.
Right. The major large ones.
These are major places. Those are critical infrastructure. Now, every state in the nation, every locality could go to the FAA and say, please designate this dam as critical infrastructure. This substation is critical infrastructure. Places aren't doing that. Or if they are, the FAA is saying, it's not critical infrastructure. And there's good reason, right? Because if they designate that critical infrastructure, that's not just for UAS, it's for all aircraft. So if I'm now saying, as an aircraft, you cannot fly over that, little quarter-acre, power plant. Oops. And now I've affected a ton of aircraft. And
This is
so the
true.
FAA is probably not going to do that. They're going to suggest other means for the localities to consider regulating areas.
Really? Go
And
ahead.
that's where we get into that state preemption, right? We want to make sure,
Mhm.
hey, local governments can't do that. We want to
We
cut
don't
that
want
off.
them making up their own laws. But back from the sky is a question, and I wanted to answer it for him. He says, I was under the impression that you're not supposed to be talked to while you're flying a drone. Well, unfortunately, back from the sky, 99.7% of the population out there does not know that.
They shouldn't know that because it's not true. Right? There's a common misnomer that there's a regulation, an FAA regulation, that prohibits the engagement of flight personnel during a flight, right?
Right.
And that is true for Part 91 pilots, but not for UAS. The actual regulation when it says in an aircraft. I'm highly doubting that you are in your aircraft.
Right. Now, what I wanted to ask you, we and I always say this because we do, and I'm not even going back, but we talk a lot here on this channel about advanced air mobility and where we're going in the future. With the hobby, small business, such as like the drone service providers that are doing work in the industry, such for construction and stuff like that. Although mainly I know some other industries have in-house programs, so it kind of affects them a little differently. But to the hobbyist and a small business owner, with this advanced air mobility coming, because there's a lot of naysayers out there that believe that it's not going to happen, and it's happening, and it's going to happen. And even in our own drone community, there's a lot of people that don't believe that it's going to happen. But they'll eventually be doing live streams about it too, and
right.
anything else. So where do you see the coexisting? Like, how will we coexist in
Well, the first thing I can say is it is happening, right? So basically for the same price of my truck, I could go out and get an air mobility vehicle, hop in and be able to fly, 30 miles away and land and what have you. So it absolutely is taking place right now. And this is only going to get bigger and bigger, right? Prices are going to come down. The aircraft themselves are going to get safer. And there's going to be more general public that goes, that's going to save me time on my commute rather than an hour drive. I can fly this in 15 minutes, right? That's huge. So the next step is looking, how can we make this safe? And the FAA is taking that very seriously. One of the concerns is, having an ability to have a pathway for that aircraft without having it impact the pathways of other aircraft. So we've seen the FAA come forward with a couple of different proposals. One, they mandated that any aircraft, right, that's flying in controlled airspace, and when I say any aircraft, I'm excluding UAS at this point, but any aircraft flying in controlled airspace must have ADS-B, right? They have to be broadcasting their location. And that's purely so that, hey, we can control, air traffic control can see, know where you're headed, what space in the area you're taking up, so that we don't vector somebody into you, right?
And that's actually necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what we know is only about 60% of aircraft are compliant with that right now. And that's kind of concerning, right? So the FAA is not doing a great job of it at this point. They're going to have to get a lot better. We're going to have pilots realize the safety of that and start to comply. At the same token, right, they're also looking at the new systems, UTM, right? Universal Traffic Management, unmanned traffic management.
Yeah,
So we
traffic
want to
management.
be able to designate where things are in the sky. So that was one of the key pieces in pushing out remote ID to everybody. Not just the law enforcement wanted it, but you had folks like at NASA with their UTM systems. They need to be able to find where you are in the sky. Remote
True.
ID provides that ability. Now,
Right.
the current remote ID can't really do that, right? Because we are not sending that out over the internet, right? We're just broadcasting it. So it's a very short range. The original proposal for remote ID was to say you had to have a cell phone and it was going to tie and broadcast that out, not just in the general area, but you're putting it on the internet. So boom, it could be seen across the nation.
Right.
The FAA still wants to get that. In fact, when they push the remote ID final rule, you can see in that final text that they were saying, we are removing that for now, right? So they're going to come back around to having us tied to an internet connectivity to push out that remote ID. And part of that is so that they can designate who's in the airspace at what location, place, time, etc. And then I think the third thing is that we have to consider as we go towards these systems is who gets priority, right? Right now, manned aircraft take priority over unmanned aircraft.
Right.
Can you see
Yes, and
envision a
always
time
will.
when that's going to change?
Yeah.
I can,
Yes.
right? Because there are going to be unmanned aircraft that are carrying human organs for transplant.
True.
So we need to give
And they're
that
gonna need a
priority.
beeline through that UTM
Plus,
that
at a
unmanned
certain
traffic
altitude,
management system.
plus at a certain altitude, he would just have normal.
Raymond says
contact.
net mesh ID. Net mesh ID, meaning, like example, here in New York, we have a 50 mile corridor for testing and doing research on drones. This
Right.
net mesh ID will allow your craft to manipulate through that UTM and area safely, whether it be body organs or somebody's toothpaste or eVTOL moving from point A to point B.
And they're creating those what they consider to be super highways for airspace. I don't know that I'm in favor of that necessarily.
Honestly,
right?
I don't know if it'll actually be highways, because right now, planes and helicopters and stuff like that we see as, I know we see it from out there in the field, that and you're gonna sit there anybody in the country will sit there and watch this from where you live. You watch every 10, 15 minutes, planes will pass going in the same route.
Here at JFK, every 2 minutes.
That's a corridor.
Every 2 minutes.
That's the corridor. And when you're flying your drone, the drone points them out to you. I don't know. I don't know if they'll actually have any more designated than what they already have. I mean, I believe there's space for them in that in what's already there, because the helicopters and these planes that are traveling, they're traveling at good altitudes. Those drones that want to move and maneuver around, they can travel at an altitude well above whatever's going on the ground. You won't even know they're up there, the same way you don't pay attention to the planes and the helicopters.
True.
And I think that's part of it, right? So we have to look at the airspace is three-dimensional, right? So we have those different levels of height. And when you're talking about some of these super highways, they don't need to be at 200 feet. They don't need to be at 400 feet. They could be above. And so, spell that out. And I think that's one of the things the FAA is even talking about. We saw, this last month, there was a helicopter crash midair with a UAS. It was at, I think it was 150 feet or something like that. Well, the FAA is telling helicopter pilots, you don't have to have a minimum altitude, but get up there, go. You don't need to be down at treetop level. You can fly at 500 feet. Make sure you got some distance.
This is my only concern, and this is where UTMs, unmanned traffic management systems, will come into play. The transition of aircraft
Yes.
landing and taking off is
Transition points.
the most critical part of remote ID, because if I'm flying a drone in a park and half a mile away there's a Walmart delivering toothpaste to Granny on the other side of me, this is where all these UTMs and different altitudes and stuff will come into play. Advanced air mobility, all of that we're talking about will come into play. It sounds crazy now, but we thought it was crazy when we were told Lance was going to tell us when and where we could take off, right? Aren't we using Lance? How many? I think Lance has broke 1 million users.
I still am using
You
it.
understand what I'm saying? So we don't like change. We're creatures of habit, but when we have to change, we adapt. And we will, along with this.
And
UTM,
either you adapt or you die or you get somebody to help you.
go sell your drone right now. You're not flying no more. Stay home.
There are those people too.
Yeah,
That's what I said. You adapt, you die, or you get somebody to help you with it.
The Back from the Sky says vertical takeoff would be the answer to that. Correct. But in order to transition, the most dangerous part of any aircraft is landing and taking off.
Yes.
You know, so vertical takeoff, yes, okay, I'm taking off vertically, but at some time and point, I'm going to have to transition. Like, for example, as a drone pilot, I know that natural transition for helicopters and most aircraft is between the 600 and 400 foot level. You understand what I'm saying? In general, planes landing and taking off, you have to transition. We are not supposed to go above 400 feet, but at some time and point, they have to transition through that and going and coming. You see my point. It's something we're going to have to get used to.
Well, Lawrence, I don't know if you ever had a chance to check out the Microsoft flight simulator.
Love it. Love it.
If you listen to it and the demo mode,
yeah,
the pilot is asking for airspace clearance for all the different transition points as he's making his way into the airport. Giving
this
his
is
final radio checkpoint call at the
yeah.
checkpoint before even making the move into the airport.
And this is where UTMs, unmanned traffic management systems, and advanced air mobility will come into play, and remote ID, because you should still be able to fly your drone at 100 feet or less in a local park and still be able to aircraft in the area like we get now, Ryan.
Right. I still, as long as there's a niche cut in for everybody to be able to operate, I'm good. It's when you start excluding, I got a problem. And with that,
I think that's almost about it.
Yeah, it is. But you know what? I was checking out in North Carolina, Ryan. There was a case.
Yeah.
The Institute of Justice had picked up. I guess they were working with this guy Michael Jones and his company with 360 Virtual Drone Services LLC, and where the state of North Carolina, I guess, is saying that drone mapping and surveying is the same. And this was a case that was upheld by a decision upheld by a judge. What was this? Lewis W. Flanagan. He basically saw that case and upheld the. There was a case against the restrictions of First Amendment. It was a First Amendment challenge that they had, and I don't know. State is really cracking down on saying that drone mapping, but I think that the argument that they had was that how does the state interfere with what the customer is actually asking for?
Well, so what this does is this gets into all states across the nation. I have yet to find a state that doesn't do the same thing as North Carolina. So basically what has happened, if you are planning to be any part of a survey, right? You're going to do surveying. You have to get a surveyor's license with the state. You have to be certified to get that license.
Right.
Now, what we had is drone pilots went out and went, hey, we can do mappings. We're going to put out our GCPs. We can get exact details about a particular property, including topography. We can tell you where the property lines are. We can get the topography of that line, of the lay of that land. And what was happening is you had surveyors who paid money to be licensed, who paid money to take the courses, go, hey, wait a minute, these guys are encroaching upon our business, and we can't have that. And so they went running to the states and said, we need to shut these folks down and threaten them with criminal activity. And there were drone pilots who indeed ended up in court on the idea that they were doing surveyors work without surveyors licensing. So you had Michael Jones in this case go out and say, hey, look, we need to challenge this because it's one and the same. We are doing mapping just as much as we're doing pictures. This is a First Amendment right. Call it what you will, but it's not a problem in terms of surveying. Well, the judge here ruled against them, and it is under appeal, I understand. This has been 18 months in the process or something like that, 2 years.
Yeah.
It's been quite a while, but it's that conversation that we're having to have of, can a drone actually do exacting information such as a surveyor? And then is the reality, does that need to be licensed? What you did find is many drone operators, when they learned about this, right, they backed away and they said, look, we're not providing surveys, we're not providing mapping, we're providing, pictography, right? And so they were getting into all kinds of words to walk around what was actually taking place. But now here you have a challenge to that, to say, look, let's stop getting things done in the shadows. Let's come out and say, these things can do everything a surveyor can do with just as much accuracy. Why are you trying to limit us? And it's really a slap to the surveyors, who were the ones who began this, to say, hey, wait a minute, you're encroaching upon our jobs.
You know what? The surveyors, right? And this is just food for thought. Maybe if a surveyor is listening, you might be able to throw in another peripheral for your customer if you bring on a drone company or drone pilot to actually give you those deliverables that you can give to your customer.
True.
That you
Absolutely
can't give him without the drone.
That's true. Guys, it's that time.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was a fun one.
It's that time. I know, Ryan, we could probably have a marathon in the United States alone. No.
We gotta try that one day, Lawrence.
Oh my, you'd wear me out.
I didn't smile when you said that. I did not smile when you said that. Listen, we appreciate you all. Thank you for coming and supporting us, Ryan. As always, you always have a home here to let us know what's going on. And you did answer some questions for me.
Yes,
anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Fly safe, be an advocate for the sport and industry, and have fun.
Yes, Ryan. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us. I'd like to thank you all for coming and hanging out with us. Please check out all the other live streams tonight. And with that being said, we'll see you next time with those
guys.